Okay, we are welcome to Module 2 for this Microsoft project training. So in this Module 2, what we want to do is to learn how to set up a simple program. In Module 1, we have looked at, we have gotten ourselves acquainted with the interface. So it's now, what we want to do now is to set up a simple program and to get ourselves acquainted with the processes that are involved in setting up a project. So we are going to set up a simple project, and the project is just for a bungalow, but we are going to divide the main activities into 3. Activity 1 will be on the documentation side. Then activity 2 will be on the substructure side, and activity 3 will be on the superstructure. Alright, so activity 1 will be pre-construction activity. So I just type that in the task name column. We can see that it has assigned a duration of a day by default, and it has assumed that this project is starting by 2nd of January 2021. Why has it chosen that date? Because let's go to the project information. You will see that date there. So if you know when you want to start your project, what you can do is to first of all pick the date that project is going to start before you begin to list your activities. The start date and the current date is one. The status days can be different depending on what you want, when you want to run a report or you want to check a status. Alright, so the date has moved to today's date and everything, because if we look at our options, we have chosen start from, schedule from start date. That's what we chose when we were formatting our program. So by default, it's showing us I need to do, let me start with a new program that we don't have anything there. So I click new. Alright, so I say pre-construction. Alright, so you can see that the date did not come out because this is on manual. This is on what? This is on manual schedule. That's one of the advantages of scheduling automatically. You click auto schedule. You can also change it from here. Alright, you can change it from here. You can change it from here. So I'm choosing auto schedule. Automatically the date comes out. Then project information. Okay, you can see something that happened now, because let me explain what has happened here. I put my project start date to be 30th of October 2021, which happens to be a Saturday, and the project does not want to start on that Saturday, it initially shows Monday. The reason is that by default, Microsoft Project recognizes 5 working days. That is Monday to Friday. So this time now is 1:55. If I want to start an activity, it's showing that today is almost gone, that we will start it on Monday. It's already preempting something. That's the importance of scheduling automatically. All right. Okay, so pre-construction. So we want to choose today's date, right? So pre-construction. All right. So what do we have under pre-construction? Let's just assume that you are writing a project charter. All right. Let's say project approval. Okay, let's say appointment, of project manager. All right, then we can say planning stage, just for instance, material sourcing, release, then we can say sign off of contracts, mobilization of contractors, pre-construction stage complete. Okay, so this is just an arbitrary project, arbitrary task, but at least it's just to learn how to do one or two things. All right, so let's assume this is the pre-construction stage, and there's a justification for this project. Then after the justification, it is approved. A project manager is selected. Then we go to the planning, we source for material, you do bidding and stuff like that. You select your contractors and you sign them off. All right, you sign the contracts, you mobilize contractors, and that stage is completed. All right, so firstly, so we can also add approval, government approval. All right, we can add it here. To add a task, you just click insert task, you right click, then this interface comes out, then you click insert task. You can say government approvals. Most times it takes a lot of time, right? So the next thing we want to do before, okay, this is pre-construction stage. We can go to the construction proper, then we can say substructure. So this is just an example for a construction project, irrespective of our discipline. It is one thing that is very important is any activity we want to plan, we need to have a good grasp, detailed activities that are involved in that project. If you don't know, you need to ask, because if you don't capture everything that you are going to do, when you begin to implement and some activities come up that were not planned, it will delay your project. So how do you get those activities that are involved in a project? Take for instance, you want to even plan a wedding. You need to get venue, you need to select vendors, you need to make sure that the venue is ready, you need to do a lot of things. If you are planning a wedding, for instance, everything that has to be involved in that activity, you need to get it. If you are planning, if you want to get all the activities for a project, one way, one source to get those activities, you can pick it from your big bill of quantities. You don't lift it verbatim, but you can select it there. There is a way you abbreviate it. You know, activities on bill of quantities at times, the way they describe them, they are very long. You know, blinding 50 mm in this institute, you don't need all those stories. Just pick blinding. Blinding is what you need. You put it there. So make it short. You don't need to lift everything. But this comes by experience. For you to plan a project, you need to have a good grasp, detailed grasp of the activities that are involved in that project. So when we say substructure, you can just say setting out. All right, setting out and clearing. Then we can do foundation excavation. So this will be populated based on the specific project that you are working on. All right, and they should also follow each other in a logical way, and you should also relate them, link them together in a sequential order. All right, so you can go ahead for installation of reinforcement. All right, let's just say formwork, as the case may be, concreting of footings. All right, blocks setting to, like I said, this has to be meticulously listed, and we should ensure that we are covering everything that we need to cover. All right, we can say backfilling, can level and compact again. Can do plumbing, first fix. So for some of us that built our house and some of us that are still building, it's very important that we also know the progression of activities irrespective of our discipline. So we are almost done with the foundation work, just the listing. So we have substructure complete. All right, so what we are doing is to list activities. Then we will go further to specify duration. We will go further to select the start date. When you select the start date, automatically the finish date comes up. All right, but like I said, what is critical and important is that we know these activities. We know them. If we don't know them, we can get the information from people that will carry out these activities to get to know. After doing this, what next? After this, what is the next thing? After this, what is the next thing? All right. So it is your responsibility as a project manager also to know, to have an idea of the duration that task is going to take. You should plan for the material that will be required and the rest. All right. So our first main activity is the pre-construction side. We have some sub activities under it. Then we have the substructure, that's the foundation works. All right, so let's continue to go to superstructure. Superstructure has to do with everything above the foundation level. All right, so you can say column, kicker, column reinforcement, column formwork, right? Casting of column, block work, block setting to lintel, all right. I can say lintel formwork and reinforcement. I can link them together as the case may be. I can split them if I want. All right, casting of lintel, then block work to the roof level, block work to roof level, plumbing second fix, electrical first and second fix. That's what is the next thing we do. Plastering. All right, then we have installation of windows and doors, frames, tiling work, right? Ceiling finish. Even though you don't complete it at once, you can leave the noggins, right? Then what else do we have? Plumbing, final fix, electrical, final fix. All right. Then there's something that I always emphasize, and that has to do with when you are planning for a project, you need to leave enough time for those fine-tuning at the end of the project, those finishing touches at the end of the project. You need to leave time for things like cleaning, for things like snagging. You need to leave time for corrective activities, because those activities will still take time. You understand? Testing and commissioning, you need to leave time for it. Snagging, for handing over. You understand? So we can say testing and commissioning. All right. snagging and correction. You can say final cleaning. Alright, then last, and over. So we have been, what we have done is to, the first thing we have done is to list activities. These activities might not be encompassing, but at least we've been able to identify a majority of the tasks that are involved for a small bungalow project. So the next thing we want to do is to determine the duration. How do we determine the duration? Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to look at how we assign duration to these activities that we have listed here. Three main activities for this project: the construction aspect, the pre-construction aspect, the substructure, and the superstructure. So to get duration, this has to come by experience, and from record, from archives, from data of past projects. If you do not have access to those records, you can always engage the people that will be involved in the project. You can have a brainstorming session and you can agree on the expected duration for these activities. And it's always very advisable to have some to leave some margin for slippage, so that you will not overshoot or overrun your expected duration. So project charter, preparation of a document for the justification of this project, you can just choose 2 days. Project approval, the client, the sponsor, we need to go through this project for them to approve. Okay, let's just arbitrarily say give them 4 days, as the case may be. Project manager can be appointed within a day. It can take time also, but depending on the method that the owners of a project want to adopt to choose a project manager. So the planning stage takes time. You understand? You plan for why, for how, for who, for where, and stuffs like that. So we need to give some time for this planning. Government approval takes time also. Immediately, the planning stage, during the planning stage, of course, all the drawings will have been made at the planning stage here. The design stage, all the drawings will have been made. Government approval also takes a lot of time, right? So let's just assume it's 30 days that we're going to use for this government approval. While that is going on, there will need for you to be sourcing for where to get your material. All right, just an arbitrary date, arbitrary duration, right? And then it takes just a day to sign off a contract. Now if you look at this icon, you know, it's showing 1 day by default, and it's asking me a question, so that you don't forget when you are changing this date. This thing is asking you a question that do you really want to leave it at a day, as a day duration. That's why immediately you can see I say 2 days, I say 1 day back, the thing changes. It means I've chosen that myself. So that is just to guide us so that we do not forget, all right, the duration of the activity that we have chosen. And one way, now the last activity under this task and main task is what? Pre-construction stage complete. So I want to make this a milestone. And what does that do? It signifies that I've completed that milestone. So how do I do that? I make the duration 0. So when I make the duration 0, the software sees that activity as a milestone. Alright. Okay. You can see that these activities are still starting on the same day. Why are they like that? Because we have not informed the software about the kind of relationship that will exist between the activities. That is why the software is assuming that these activities are starting on the same day. What we are just doing now is to set the duration for each of the activities. When we begin to select the start dates, then they will begin to move accordingly. Right. So we have successfully added duration for the pre-construction. We go now to the substructure. Setting out within a day or 2 days can be done, no issues. Excavation, depending on how hard, depending on the availability of labor, depending on the number of workers available, depending on whether we are going to use manual or machine, we can decide on the number of days. Okay, so let's quickly look at the duration again. Level and compact, you can do that. It's a small project a day. The blinding of the trenches, let's leave 2 days for that. Installation of for reinforcement, formwork, and concreting of footing. These activities, we are going to make them to run concurrently as we are bending the reinforcement. You can be preparing your formwork also. Casting, we just use 1 day to cast the footings. Alright. Casting 1 day. Block setting to foundation, let's say we are going to use 6 days to achieve that. Backfilling, let's use 2 days to achieve our backfilling. Level and compact, a day is good. Plumbing first fix, I'm giving our plumber 2 days for that job. Waterproofing, a day will suffice. Installation of formwork on the DPC level, 1 day is good. Casting, I'm going to use a day to cast that also. Now substruction complete is a milestone, we make it 0. Good. Alright, we move to kicker. Use 2 days for our kicker. The essence of our kicker is to do what? To ensure that when you place your reinforcement against your columns, it's standing very well. It's very straight. It makes you to get a job done very nicely. Column reinforcement. Okay, follow reinforcement. It can take some time to achieve this. Let's just slate a week for that. Column formwork, these activities will be running concurrently. Casting, we are leaving 2 days to achieve it. Alright, block setting to lintel, we are setting like maybe 4,000 blocks. That is 400 square meter, depending on the number of bricklayers that we have. If a bricklayer, for instance, can set 100 blocks per day and you have 4,000, so it means you have 40 man-hour days, right? Yeah. So if you have 40 man-hour days, depending on the number of bricklayer, if we have 8 bricklayers, it means we can put it for 5. If we have 5 bricklayers, let's assume we have 5 bricklayers, we put it for what? 8 days. So basically that is how to determine the, you know, your quantity of work you want to do, you know what a worker can do per day, and you know how many workers are you planning to have From there, you can decide the duration that you will use, and you can always have a buffer for uncertainties that you cannot that can go out of your control. Okay, we can slate for 2 days for casting our lintel. All right, then we continue the rest of the block work up to the roof level. Let's say we use 5 days to achieve that. Plumbing, I'm giving our plumber just 3 days to lay the those fittings for us. The electrical fix first and second, I'm giving them a whole week to complete their job. Then plastering, we calculate based on the total area of your block. That's ×2 for plastering. Of course, you can remove your block, your windows and your doors. You add the dressing to it. You look at what a gang of bricklayer can do in a day, and from there you decide the duration that you are going to use for plastering. For the purpose of this training, I just assume is 9 days. Then installation of your windows and doors, I'm putting 5 days to achieve, 6 days to achieve that. Tiling, we have to do a very good work, so let me leave 2 weeks, and I'm assuming that before I start this, all the materials that I need will be on site, so that I will not be delayed. Alright, then we go to ceiling finish. Under ceiling finish, we have a lot to do there. Depending on the type of finishing we want to use, we need to do the noggin. We need to, if it's PVC strips, if it's POP strips that we want to do there, we need to give enough time to do a proper job. Alright, installation of final fixes for plumbing, 5 days. Final fixes for electrical, I say 7 days. We need to leave enough time to test, to make sure everything is okay. The snagging, we need to leave enough time for correction activities. Alright, to make sure that snags are well taken care of. We do cleaning. Cleaning is very important. It shows our level of professionalism. You know, at times you send some workers to site, they do a good job, they mess up the site. We should instill discipline in our workers. Cleaning is part of work. When you are leaving the site, your site is clean before you leave, so that if somebody comes there, yes, you know, that's what makes a lot of difference between us and some of these expatriates. They pay attention to some of these little details that we don't do. You know, some of us, the attitude of finish and go is very bad. Finish, and you finish it very well. You complete everything, you don't leave everything. You ensure that everything is done and is done well. Final cleaning, and of course handing over. Handing over, we can make it a milestone. Alright, we can make it a milestone. We can make it a milestone. So we have been successful in creating our tasks, 3 main tasks, assuming days, the duration of those activities. Now we need to establish the relationship between these activities. How do we do that? We do that by linking those activities depending on the type of relationship that will exist between them during the implementation stage. Alright, so there's something we need to do. We need to give this project a name: Bungalow Project for Mr. and Mrs. What? Mr. and Mrs. Adetona. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so so there are so many ways to link activities. So the next thing we want to do is to establish the relationships. To do that, there are so many ways which we can use. One of the ways is this. This is pre-construction, right? So a predecessor is an activity before one, a successor is an activity after one, based on the way you want them to be arranged. If I just type 3 here, if I put 3 under this predecessor, it establishes that relationship. That is one method through which you can use. Another method is I go back to task here, I light 2 activities, then I click this link icon, I click it, they have been linked together. So basically those are the 2 methods you can use to establish that relationship. I will tell you now, we will now look at the kind of relationship that we have established. So you will take your cursor and you will click on top of that arrow connecting the 2 of them together. So let's double click it and see what comes out. When you double click it, you will see the task dependency there. So I put my cursor on this drop down, then we will see all the 4 types of relationship that can exist between 2 tasks. Finish to start, it means activity A will finish before activity B starts, and that is exactly what has happened here. If you click start to start and I click OK, it tells me that those 2 activities will start at the same time. Alright, if I click finish to finish and I click OK, it means those activities with finish to finish, that is not supposed to be, let's see, start to finish is the other way around. Alright, so this one brings it forward. So it's important we finish to start, we click OK, it goes back. So basically that is how the relationship works, and you should be able to do some manipulations based on how you are planning your project, based on what is to be done. There are some times that even though you want these 2 activities to follow each other, because of some other activities, you will need to create some lag. You use this lag to do 2 things. If you want your activities to run concurrently, you do not necessarily, you want this one to start before this one ends. You can lag backward. The lagging will be negative. Alright, maybe like 3 days, 2 days. When you lag it, okay, 2 days is too much. Let's say -1 day. Alright, so even though there is a relationship that you have established, but before this one finish, you want that one to start, you can use that lag. So we have situations whereby we need to lag forward. Alright, even though the activities are linked together, there are some other activities that will have to happen in between them. You lag with a positive number, you can lag with a negative number. If you want it to start before that one finishes, you can always lag forward. Alright, if I lag forward by 3 days, you can see even though this activity has finished, I'm leaving 3 days before the other activity starts. Okay, so okay, so let me assume that project charter and approval, they will need to follow each other. All right, you need to finish the. So we want to just respect project charter has to be completed, and the approval comes. So all right, so we have established that relationship. The next thing is the appointment of a project manager. You can link them. What I do to save time is I highlight all of them together, okay, and I click link once, then I can now begin to create the dependency. All right. So it is advisable for us to indent to create the hierarchies before we begin to link the activities together. All right. So now we need to separate these activities into levels. How do we do that? We start from the lowest one. We highlight all of them. We indent to the right. All right. I go to pre-construction again. I indent to the right. By doing that, I have done what? Make this the major project, and you can see that I'm already having estimated days for the project. I come to under substructure, I highlight, okay, I indent to the right, I come to substructure, I again indent to the right. So when you want to indent, you need to understand that you need to start your indenting from the lowest level of the hierarchy. You need to select all of them together. All right. So when you indent them to the right, the activity above them becomes their boss, as it were. All right. So indent to the right. I click substructure, because now substructure and this project, they are still on the same level, which is not. I indent substructure to the right. Now, how do I know whether the indenting that has been done is the way I want it? You can collapse them. How do you collapse them? You click on this cursor, you click on it, you click on it. Oh, something is wrong here. Okay, you can see now. You can see that something is wrong. So that's the reason why it's very important that you will check. You can see where we made a mistake. So what we can do, we can go back. All right. You select this, right? So this is okay. Something is wrong here. Okay, good. It's still not good. We need to go back. Let's go back. All right. So let's still go back one more time. Okay, let's still go back one more time. Alright, so while selecting this, we need to select everything. We didn't select everything the other time. So you indent. Alright. Okay, so we will now check whether our indenting is right. To check, you collapse this. you collapse this and to check whether they are on the same line. So it means they have the same weight and they are on the same line. So you have made this one the main project now, and you have collapsed. You can see that those sub activities are under it, and this is on the same line. So by collapsing this and checking if they are on the same line, if you can see that these three triangles facing the right are on the same line, then we know that the way we want this project to be weighted is the way we have done. If we don't get this weighting right, the percentage completion figure that we will be getting, that project will be calculating, will be different. All right, so we go back to this, we collapse it again, and we continue to set our dependencies. All right, so what we have done is to set the dependency. If you are not able to see this view, if you are not able to see the view at a glance, you can come here, click the minus so that it can shrink further to have a view. So we have at a time to save, to look and picked all, highlighted all these tags. We have set dependencies. We will now begin to look at them one by one. Is there anyone that we need to work concurrently, or we need to introduce some lag? All right, so project approval, yes, it has to be project charter has to be completed for project approval. Appointment of project manager, after project approval, we do that. Then you go to the planning stage. All these activities, they are finished to start activities. Then you don't necessarily need to finish the planning stage before you seek for government approval. Part of the planning stage is to get the approval drawings. Immediately you get the approval drawings, you can push for it while your other planning continues. So I'm going to lag these two activities a few times. All right, even though I'm spending 9 days arbitrarily for planning, that is on the small side. I can see that 9 days 9 days will be small for planning. Let's just assume it's 2 full weeks. So I want to lag it. So that let's assume that after the first 8 days my drawings are ready. Is an assumption. So I will just lag it by 4 days. Immediately my drawing is ready, while I do other things, I start my approval process. All right, okay, so as government approval is going on, so now what I can do immediately, even though government approval is going on, immediately I finish my planning stage, I can begin to source for my material. So these two activities, I want to link them together because they have something to do together. What I do is I highlight planning stage, then I click down, I hold down control, I select material sourcing. I repeat again, I highlight planning stage, I hold down my control key, I click on planning and material sourcing. To have selected those two activities, all I just need to do is to click link, and by default, okay, I have linked them. So because we have linked them before, we need to, you can see now we have two dependencies. So we need to decide on which one we want to remove and which one we want to add. Let's see. I can say I want to remove this, delete. All right, you can see what I've done. The reason why we had two relationships. I've selected all of them before. That is why all of them were following each other, finish to start. Now we are doing government approval. That does not mean we don't need to wait till we finish government approval before we sort for our material. During my planning stage, I want to start sorting for my material. So I'm interested in linking these two activities. This one to follow this. So this relation, if we have two relationships binding them together, I want to remove one. I want to remove this, the one for planning approval and material sourcing. I click it and remove it. So even though town planning approval, government approval is going on, and after my planning, I'm able to go ahead with sourcing of my material. All right. So let's look at the next thing. Sign off contracts. I can do that without the government approval. Can I mobilize contractor without the government approval? Does it make sense to mobilize? It does not make sense to mobilize. So now we go to material sourcing, and we can finish that. A sign of contract that can be achieved. Mobilization of contractor, we will now need to wait to be sure that we are going to get government approval before we begin to release money into the hand of a contractor, because time value of money is very important. The money can still be in your account. It can still improve your cash flow when you don't usually need it. All right, so we can lag for some days. If we still have some days, let's see if we lag. Now approval is expected on 30th of December. Let's say by 30th of December, let's say by 23rd of December, you can release the money, but you have to be very sure that the money will not be used for Christmas. It's advisable to release the money after Christmas, actually. All right, so the guide prepares in preparation for the project work. All right, so we are done with that pre-construction stage. We now move to the next stage, which is substructure. All right, so what we can do is we will select mobilization of contractor. We will press down our control key. We will highlight setting out, then we will link them. All right, I repeat, the last activity on that, the former main task, you select it, you hold down your control button, you select the next one, and you click the link button, and you can see that we have established a relationship. So to make things fast, I will now select all of them together. I can easily link them once, and I will now look at the merits of this relationship one by one. I will see the ones that I can run concurrently, the ones that I have to finish before another one will start. How can I save time without compromising the actual time that is meant to be used for each and every activity? Setting out has to be completed before you do your excavation. Yes, we respect that. Foundation excavation has to be completed before you level and compact. I respect that. Leveling and compaction has to be completed just a day before I blind. I respect that relationship. Blinding, reinforcement, installation of reinforcement, of course, we have to happen after blinding. I respect that, but it can start a day before. Bending, you can be preparing your reinforcement before you bend. So this is actually supposed to be bending and installation. If it's bending and installation, I can as well lag it maybe by -1 day, or as the case may be. I can even start them at the same time. Okay, you can lag it by 1 day. So installation of reinforcement form work, most times form work and reinforcement, they do what? They go concurrently. I can lag it by 2 days. Alright, you can see I'm saving some time there. Okay, casting or footing will have to be completed this. I respect that relationship. Block setting will start after. I respect that relationship. Backfilling can start before the end. You can even complete, you can start maybe a day before, because when you set your block, at least you allow it to solidify a little bit before you backfill. So you can just start a day before you finish the ones that are okay. So that relationship exists. Then level and compact, when you backfill, I want to respect that relationship. Plumbing first fix. So for plumbing first fix, when you are backfilling, you can do when you, okay, I want to respect that relationship also. Then waterproofing, I want to now link waterproofing immediately after level and compact. I will now do this. Alright, then I will link them. We will now have two, we have two so let me see the one to delete and the one to leave now. Okay, I don't want to leave let me see whether I can leave the two of them. Plumbing, okay, so when you waterproof, you cover everything. Okay, so I want to remove this relationship. Let me respect what we have there, because you want to ensure that you have completed your plumbing before you lay your nylon, as the case may be. So it's just a day activity, so I want to respect that relationship. Then after waterproofing, you do your board, I respect that relationship. You cast your floor, I respect that relationship. And we make this one 0 day is complete. So if we go up, you can see that our duration is changing based on those activities. Alright, so we look at our last activity. I want to assume that the relationship will be finished to start. I click them. Right? So what I need to do, immediately I cast my floor, I will pick this control button, I link it. Alright? It's telling me what? You chose the link task command with only one task selected. Oh, I'm sorry for that. So you do like this, you click, then you click this, then you link. It's linked. Alright? So everything has been linked. So you now begin to look at the relationship one by one. Do you leave them, or you respect them, or you do otherwise? Kicker, first thing to be done. Column reinforcement. I want to start when I'm preparing my kicker. I am also bending. In fact, I can start on the same day, right? You can change that one to start as the case may be, but just leave it. It's still the same start to start. Column form work concurrently, right? So how many days? Let's say 4 days lag. I'm saving some time. Then casting will have to be done after I respect that relationship. Then lintel. Okay, we did a lag here. I want to understand why we have this lag. Is there a weekend, or that's a public holiday? There should be an okay. There's a weekend there. That's why. You can see this is Friday. The reason why we're having this jump is because this is Friday and the next activity is Monday. We have not set our calendar, so the system is still assuming that we are only working from Monday to Friday, right? Good. So let's look at the next relationship. Block setting, casting of column. Even your block work, before you finish casting the columns, your block work can still be going on, right? So let me just lag it by 2 days. Let's say a day. Block work and casting of block work and column can still be going on at the same time. There's nothing stopping them. Alright, so I need to respect this relationship. I need to respect this. I need to respect this. I might not respect this. I can lag it by just 1 day. You don't need to finish casting all the lintel before you continue. The ones that you have casted the first day, you can go ahead. Plumbing first fix. You can also find somewhere to do this. You can lag it. Also, electrical fix. You can start at the same time. Let's see. You can start your plumbing. You start your electrical together the same day, right? Then plastering. If you need to can lag it in some places where they are finished. You move from stage to stage, maybe from room to room. Rooms where they are finished, you can start doing your plastering there, right? You don't need to finish everything before you go ahead. Okay, so the next activity is installation of windows and doors, depending on the construction, the methodology that you want. In some cases you can finish your plastering, but in some cases you cannot. No, this we actually have to start together. At times you can do it separately, at times you can do it together as you want, but I always prefer to make sure this is set. All right, so tiling, when you finish your plastering, you can start your tiling, right? So I can link them together outrightly. Then I will remove the other relationship. Which relationship should I remove now? Okay, I can leave the relationship like that. I can leave that. Tiling is going on. Finishing for the rooms that they are finished. As they are tiling, you can move up to be doing your ceiling also to save some time, so that you reduce the final duration of the project. Okay. All right, so we are okay with that. Let's move on. What's the next thing? Final finish, final ceiling. Something is missing in this program, and that is painting. We need to add that. Insert, you save painting, right? Okay, you can see, if you look at that painting now, you can see that it's standing aloof. That's the reason why I said it's always good to link your activities together. All right, so when I finish my electrical fix, I want to do my final painting. I just link it. All right, so I've linked it. The thing has come here. Okay, then we will look at the duration later. So let's understand this relationship that we have here. Alright, so okay, it's actually a weekend. That's the reason why. So after painting, so I want to link these two activities. Then when you paint, you now start commissioning, right? Okay. Then what else? This is a weekend. You do your correction. After the testing and commissioning, you correct your snag, you clean, and then you do what? You hand over. So basically, we have been able to define some activities. We have set the duration. We have selected, we didn't even touch this column. All we just did was to establish relationships, and the dates were automatically selected. The dates, when you have some constraints with dates, you can always choose dates at times, but the way I've done it is one of the fastest ways through which you can do a simple program of work. All right, so that is the end of module 2. In module 3, we will look at how to do some additional formatting, setting of calendar, and the other stuffs. Thank you.